For over a decade, the Call of Duty franchise has always managed to dominate the gaming market. While the multiplayer is so iconic it practically defines the shooting genre, there is an equally iconic game mode that has built up its own reputation. No one would have expected such a simple concept to blossom into something so meaningful. Adapting the gameplay as well as the story as it grew in both popularity and passion was Call of Duty Zombies. While oftentimes to understand and grasp a timeline it is best told through a chronological perspective, Call of Duty Zombies' timeline can easily get very confusing and difficult to follow through this method alone. To best deliver the most coherent possible series of events, I will be using a mixture of both chronological and sequential storytelling to make everything as easy as possible to follow. With that said, I present you the complete unabridged timeline of Call of Duty Zombies. Like most stories, everything starts at the beginning, quite literally in this case. The first beings to ever exist in the universe were known as Keepers. They existed within the Ether. The Ether is simply the name which encompasses the entire universe as a whole. The Keepers were unearthly creatures, but their intelligence and power was astounding. The very first Keeper to ever exist, simply referred to as the First One, created a device known as the Summoning Key. This single device is the oldest artifact in all of creation and allowed the Keepers to manipulate the Ether. With it, they created Agartha, a physical manifestation of the Ether itself. This place would go by many names: Paradise, the House, the place above creation. But despite what it was referred to, it was a location which exists outside of all known and unknown universes, and simply exists within its own pocket. This would be the home of the Keepers. The First One also used the Summoning Key to seed life across all other dimensions, each dimension with their own quirk. But as life goes on with all creation, there is destruction. The Ether didn't come to exist without its complete opposite also being birthed. The Dark Ether serves as the hell to the Ether's heaven. It is a realm of pure evil capable of corrupting anything that enters it. The Keepers eventually came to uncover its existence, and like most intelligent beings, it was their own curiosity and self-greed which got the best of them. Here enter two very important figures into the timeline: Dr. Monty and the Shadow Man. Both of them are Keepers, however significantly more important than the others. The Shadow Man sought to use the Dark Ether's power for his own self-benefit, and so he ventured into it. Being his best friend, Dr. Monty attempted to stop him, however, was unsuccessful. The Dark Ether corrupted the Shadow Man and all of the Keepers who were with him. The corrupted Keepers began to become morphed, changing their appearance and becoming an entirely new entity known as Apothicons. Unlike the Keepers, the Apothicons were given new purpose due to their corruption. Their sole motivation became to wreak havoc across all of creation. They invented the Ether Pyramid, a device which could harness the power of the Dark Ether and control the Ether entirely. Seeing the danger the Apothicons posed, the Keepers were forced to take action and fight against them. This led to a war between the corrupted being led by the Shadow Man and the uncorrupted being led by Dr. Monty. This event would go on to be known as the War of Agartha. When all the smoke settled, it was the Keepers who came out victorious. Seeing their inevitable defeat, the Apothicons hid away their Ether Pyramid on the moon in one of the newly formed universes. All of the Apothicons were then banished to the Dark Ether, where it was to remain their prison. From here, Dr. Monty, as well as all of the other Keepers, vowed to be the protectors of all universes, guardians of the multiverse, never allowing the Apothicons' corruption to spread. As time passed, the Apothicons slowly somehow managed to worm its way out of imprisonment and into creation once more. And with it, they attacked humanity and Earth. In this universe, the Apothicons attacked humanity, and keeping true to their promise, the Keepers once again descended upon Earth to fight them off. This time, the Keepers were aided by humanity. There was a group of warriors in particular, which, when banded together, they were able to put a stop to the Apothicons. This event would go down in this universe's history as the Great War. With that, the Keepers yet again sealed the Apothicons away, but similar to last time, the Apothicons still had a method of tampering with the multiverses. While they themselves were not able to cross back into creation, they were capable of sending a specific element. This element would widely be known as Element 115. With it carried all the chaos and evil of the Apothicons. With enough exposure to it, by simply being in its vicinity, it could create what we know as a zombie. By sending these elemental meteors to all of the dimensions, they were hoping that it would cause enough chaos somewhere to shatter creation itself. And by doing so, it would inevitably set them free from their prison once more. It is important to note that neither the Keepers nor the Apothicons can intervene directly with the free will of humanity. Anything they want them to do, they must decide according to their own volition. The reason this is relevant is due to a device known as the Agarthan device. This is yet another artifact which holds unspeakable power. The Agarthan device is capable of manifesting the user's will into reality, like a genie in a bottle. It was even capable of putting an end to the conflict between Keepers and Apothicons altogether. This is why both the Keepers and Apothicons sought this out. However, unlike the summoning key, which existed since the beginning, the Agarthan device needs to be crafted. It required 3 things: the blood of an Apothicon Elder God, an elemental shard which can only be obtained by binding 4 souls to the ether through a piece of Element 115, and a vessel for everything to contain it. And all of that leads us to Earth in the original timeline. Where the Apothicons sent divinium meteors to different dimensions, in this timeline it was first uncovered by the small mining town of Purgatory Point in the year 1885. This story follows a man named Jebediah Brown. When he was only 10, he and his mother moved to Purgatory Point seeking a new life. The two settled in quite well, both getting jobs in the local shops. For over 40 years, there never quite seemed to be anything of note. But one day, the miners uncovered a mysterious blue rock. This was Element 115. Due to the frequent and direct exposure to it, the rock corrupted a miner named Clive Farnsworth, who was turned into a zombie. He returned to the town and killed Jebediah's mother, viciously ripping out her throat. Clive was promptly killed by their neighbor, and Jebediah buried his mother.
The day's the 14th of April, the year of our Lord 1885. A day I will hold dear until my last. I have done and spent 30 years of my life in Purgatory Point. My ma brought me out here when I was but 10 years young. She hoped to give us a chance at a new life. They're good folk here in Purgatory Point. Sure, sometimes they get a little rowdy, and maybe we strayed too far from heaven's gaze, but what do you expect from a frontier mining town? Something happened to one of the miners. Clive Farnsworth, a good man, came by the shop a few times. Anyway, he went down into that mine, stayed down there for 10 days. When he came back up, he was changed. They say he was like a feral animal, rabid and carnivorous. His mind was gone, his flesh all sallow and bloody, his eyes ablaze in a red light. First home he stumbled upon was me and Ma's. I was at the shop at the time. Ma went out to meet him, and Clive, Doc said it happened quick. Clive jumped on her, ripped her throat. Old Bill ran over, put two through Clive's skull, shot him dead, like a dog. But Ma, she's been laid to rest now. She'll rise up to heaven. Bless her soul, she'll be greeted with open arms. That mine. They've been digging for that blue rock. Some folks say you stare too long, you'll find the devil in it. I need answers. I need to understand what happened. I'll head down to that mine tomorrow.
He knew something was wrong, as word had spread about this blue rock, and so he went searching for answers himself. He visited the Element 115 meteor, and upon his interaction with it, it forever changed him. The corruption had touched him, and thus connected him to the ether. That night, upon his return, he had visions from what he perceived as angels. In reality, these were the Keepers. They had warned him to prepare for what was coming, and were also testing the limits over how much influence they can have over humans. Their first real test was getting him to create a machine that could upgrade any weapon put inside of it. This was the creation of the very first Pack-a-Punch machine. They guided him in constructing the blueprints, and despite not being much of a blacksmith, he was successful in the Pack-a-Punch's creation.
The day's the 19th of April, the year of our Lord, 1885. Somehow. I don't know how it's possible. Last I recall, I was headed into the mine. I swear, I was only down there for a few hours. When I come back up, townsfolk say I've been missing for 5 days. Then there was last night. When I slept, I had a vision. 2 angels came down to me from heaven. They told me I needed to be ready to prepare for what was coming. And what was coming, they would not tell me, but how to prepare. Build a machine, they said. A machine that will grant you great power. Now, this machine was complex, requiring craftsmanship and mechanical skill I did not have. I told them such, but they said not to worry. They would guide my hands. The way they described it, it sounded like an oven or a kiln. You stick your rifle inside, and when it come back out, well, let's just say that rifle would pack a serious punch.
This machine garnered the attention of many locals and visitors alike, but most importantly, it proved to the Keepers that humans could be of use. The Keepers yet again visited Jebediah, only this time hoping that he could craft the Agarthan device. This proved troublesome, as he had no means of getting Elder God blood, nor 4 souls. What he was capable of, however, was crafting the vessel for which it would be held, and that's exactly what he did.
The day's the 30th of June, the year of our Lord, 1885. My invention is the talk of the town. People been coming from far and wide, eager for a chance to upgrade their firearm. Revolver, rifle, the machine don't care. It'll pack 'em all. I pray every night, thanking the heavens for sending them 2 angels. I couldn't have done this without their guiding hand. They returned to me last night. They told me there was another machine they wished me to build. They called it the Agarthan device. Said it had the power to grant that which one truly desires. I told them I was their servant. Show me the path and I will walk. They said I needed 3 things. The blood of an elder god, an elemental shard, and a metallic vessel to harness and carry both. To find the blood, they instructed me to travel to the bottom of the ocean. I told them this I could not do, for I would perish. To craft an elemental shard, they instructed me to forge 4 souls with a blue rock from our mine. I told them this I could not do, for I do not have the means to siphon a human soul to an element. But a metal vessel? Well, I am a blacksmith. That I think I could manage.
Over time, the town would fall into ruin due to its close proximity to Element 115. The residents became delusional, paranoid, and even Jebediah suffered some side effects as well. He became overcome with grief about the loss of his mother, and for whatever reason, perhaps the simple madness of losing one's mind, he dug up his mother's corpse and put it into the Pack-a-Punch machine. This created an unforeseen result. Her body did not disappear from the machine as any normal gun would. Instead, an apparition of her appeared in their old house, although it was a much younger version from when she died. Her ghost would continue to be bound to the house for the foreseeable future.
The day's the 21st of July, the year of our Lord, 1885. I have a confession. I am burdened with sin. I fear I am the architect of my own damnation. This town is cursed. The devil himself has possessed our people. Folk have been acting all kinds of crazy paranoia, visions, seeing things that ain't there. And the violence. 7 dead in the last 5 days. Sheriff don't know what's gotten into these people. But I know it. It's that damned mine. Them blue rocks. Doc believes them to be meteors from the sky, from up in the stars. Maybe from heaven. But whatever the cause, I fear the disease that consumes this town has gotten to me as well. Last night, I felt overcome with loss and grief. I went to see Ma at the cemetery. Maybe it was a whiskey. Maybe it was delirium. I can't say, but I dug her up and took her into town. I took her to my shop where I kept the machine. I don't know what came over me. Like something took control of my body, like a puppet on strings. I put her in the machine. I don't know why. Maybe it would bring her back to me. But she vanished. Nothing came back out. I stumbled home in a daze, but as I arrive, I see before my eyes, I see an apparition, a spirit. It looks just like her, only when she was younger. She floats around the house now. I catch her playing the piano. The